Hello, everybody, and welcome to 38 Weeks to Go, your weekly podcast about fantasy football. I am your host, Nash, and we have 32 weeks to go. Forgive me if my voice may be a bit off. It was my birthday this weekend and it was heavy. So, Game Week 6. Were you as scared as I was? They reached a point where Haaland was my captain. He had 12 points and I had 20 points. And I was like, oh no, this is going to be a disaster. And then Malo Gusto got -2. And then Nicholas Jackson got 0. And then the miracle happened. Mitoma came off the bench and scored 2 goals. And Estupinian had an assist. And then Newcastle went wild and scored 8 goals. Suddenly, my 20 points ballooned to 74. It was best. Happy birthday weekend to me. I wasn't the highest or anything, but I was very happy with how the week ended compared to how it started. So, there's nowhere else to start. 8-0. Newcastle versus Sheffield. Sheffield scammed me, guys. Their previous games against Man City and Spurs made me think that they would fight. They had fight in them. To be fair, I think this is an anomaly. However, these small teams tend to have such a result in them where they're just hammered. You know, they say the last time Newcastle had a big scoreline like this, Alan Shearer had 5 goals. There were 8 different scorers in this game. That is very rare to see. It was almost like if you had 8 out of 11 players of Newcastle, you pretty much got points. For those of us holding Trippier, it was Christmas. 3 assists. Then Anderson had 1 assist, Bruno Guimaraes had 1, Gordon had 1, and Longstaff had 1. When it comes to the goal scorers, Almiron, Botman, Bruno Guimaraes, Byrne, Gordon, Isak, Longstaff, and Wilson scored. Sometimes I think football should introduce a I surrender rule. Just wave the white flag and it's just 3-0. Just stop it. Most people had Botman and Trippier. Newcastle's difficult fixtures have finished and they are fighting back. They were disappointing in Europe. Or rather, they escaped Europe with 1 point. It really depends on how you want to see it. And they bounced back very well from the 0-0 draw with Milan. Another exciting scoreline from the weekend was the Arsenal-Spurs game. Both teams are still undefeated, and the game ended 2-2. Son had 2 goals, and Maddison had 2 assists. Saka had a goal and an assist. White had an assist for the own goal for Romero. Romero had an awful game. But more than an awful game, he just seems to have been quite unlucky. Raya was in goal for Arsenal. It seems Ramsdale has fallen out of favour. It isn't clear why. People are saying it's because he's better with his feet. I'm not so sure. If you have Ramsdale, it might be time to move on. If you're like me and you don't have Son, now you might be thinking, do I bring in Son or do I bring in Maddison if you don't have Maddison? I am going to bring in Son after the next game week. I want them to clear the Liverpool game and then I'll bring him on. If you're still a holder of Maddison, you must be very happy. He seems very solid. He's just fitted in like a glove. Our golden boy Saka did the thing. Goal and an assist. That was great. This game could really have gone either way, but it ended up in a draw. Saka, Son, and Maddison got the bonus points. Jorginho really fumbled the bag at the end. He tried to be clever, but it worked against him. When it comes to unexpected results, look no farther. It's Chelsea against Aston Villa. Well, to be fair, I did say Aston Villa would beat Chelsea. This was such a disappointing game from a fantasy perspective, mainly because we're still many of us who have Sterling, Malo Gusto, and Jackson. Those of you who got off Jackson, well done. You guys are the real MVPs. I was still fooled by preseason. If you watch the highlights of the game, you will find that Jackson missed chances again and again. Sterling as well missed chances. Malo Gusto's red card was a dangerous tackle. He deserved the red card. Chelsea attacked, looked threatening, had dangerous chances, but they cannot find the net. I have gotten rid of Malo Gusto and have gotten rid of Jackson. This is Sterling's last week. Aston Villa lost in Europe, and this was a good bounce-back game against a well-rested Chelsea side. Watkins scored the only goal, and that's him opening his scoring of the season, in the Premier League at least. Martinez made good saves. Chelsea just... It's so hard to be a Chelsea fan right now because you see potential and then experience disappointment. Watkins got the 3 points, Pau got 2, and Konsa got 1. Konsa was very impressive, it has to be said. Chilwell did not start again, so if you have Chilwell, I don't even know what to tell you. That game 1, that was it. It's game week 6 now. He hasn't done anything since. And now he's not even starting in a team that's not doing anything. So save that money and use it on somebody else who will at least play. Another unexpected game for me was Everton versus Brentford. I honestly thought Brentford would beat Everton, but it simply was not meant to be. I had Mbumo on my bench, so I was very happy with that decision because I exchanged him for Mitoma, and that was a decision that really paid off. Everton have been unlucky this season. They have been kind of like Chelsea in that they have played well enough to deserve to score more goals. Their expected goals and what they actually deliver is laughable. However, today they were not laughing. Doucouré seems to be Everton's best player when they win. He always seems to be their most likely goal scorer. Every time I watch him, he seems to be quite dangerous. He scored a beautiful goal and he had a chance to score an identical finish, but it went off the post. Big man Tarkowski scored and had an assist, and so if you had him, well done. Calvert-Lewin also scored again, and that was great. It'll give him confidence. Jensen scored for Brentford off an assist from Janelt. Garner, McNeil and Tarkowski had the assists for Everton. Tarkowski, Garner and Jensen had the bonus points. Tarkowski had 3, Garner and Jensen were tied for 2. Brentford were not the better team. Everton really showed up, and they seemed to have found a fire. This Garner kid had so much energy, had so much fight. He forced so many errors in the midfield. It was quite interesting to watch unfold because I thought it was a mistake to not play with Danjuma. But watching Garner, I was like, what's this kid going to do? But I wasn't ready. He did a good job. He may keep that position for some time now. But that's what I'm going to wait and see. He may be a future differential. So keep an eye on him. As for Brentford, I don't know if they were just off or if this is the beginning of a slump. It just wasn't anything to talk about. You just keep quiet and you just wait for the next game. Bad day at the office. Moving on to other fixtures. Crystal Palace drew 0-0 with Fulham. I thought this game would have goals in it. It was a London derby. It ended 0-0. I was very sad to see Anderson at the end of my bench with 6 points, especially since Malo Gusto took away from the team. I know my friend Bonaji with Tete from Fulham kept whining about how he isn't playing and is a clean sheet. I thought Fulham had the better chances. Crystal Palace just seemed to be a bit off without Olise. Eze isn't enough. He's no Zaha. They tried, but there's just something missing. They don't have enough firepower. Fulham will feel like they could have done better. Raul Jimenez continues his dry spell. He seems to be trying, but I'm wondering if their lack of a proper striker, especially given what Mitrovic was last season, they may need to think real hard about what to do in January. Or maybe they will give Vinicius more opportunities to play. Leno is looking like a great asset right now. He had 10 last week. This week he ends with bonus points, 3 of them again. He had 2, Johnson had 1 and Robinson had 1. Fulham low-key are a good team to have for defense. Well, Leno is a good player to have. Having said that, expect him to concede 8 goals next week. Because that's the same kind of talk I said about Fotheringham for Sheffield. Luton versus Wolves. 1-1. Luton were lucky. Wolves got a very unfair red card. No, not red card. Well, they got a red card. But Luton got an unfair penalty in my view. And that was the only way they scored. Wolves got a red card. And I thought this was Luton's best chance to win a game, their first game of the season. They ended up getting their first points of the season. Or rather, their first point of the season. They should have done better. They will feel like they lost there. Wolves did well to play for as long as it did with 10 men. And they will be happy that they played a weak opponent. Otherwise, knowing them, they would have cracked in the last minute or two. Neto scored for Wolves. He is doing really well this season. I think he has 4 assists and a goal. Although this is his first goal for 16 or 18 months. So don't think of him as a goal scorer, but as an assist provider. Morris scored off a Kabore assist. And if you were thinking about Luton assets to bring into your team for the next game week, because remember they're having a double game week. Luton and Burnley are having a double game week. Morris and Kabore are the best assets to bring from the Luton squad. That is all. Morris had the 3 points for bonus. Neto had 2. Doty and Lockyer had 1 each for Luton. Man City played Nottingham Forest. I won't lie. It was really great to get clean sheet points from Edison. Ever since I brought him into my team, it felt like Alisson had gotten more clean sheets than him, and that's embarrassing. Man City are switched on. They just seem to know what they're doing. Alvarez was the most brought on player this weekend, and he did nothing. It wasn't his fault. He had to be subbed because Rodri lost his mind and strangled a player, got sent off. It was the quickest strangle you'll ever see. But VAR caught it, and he just had to go. Foden scored a beautiful goal. I think there were like 46 passes before that goal. If you haven't seen it, see it. Haaland also scored, and that was great because I don't know what I would have done without him. Once the red card came, Manchester City changed their team, subbed 2 players off, brought on, I think it was Ake and Calvin Phillips. Yes, he still plays football. Nunes had his first assist for Haaland goal. It was a nice cross. Nottingham Forest were never going to win this game. Awoni had their best chance, but outside that, they never really threatened. They should have done more. They should have threatened more. But City just seemed to be such a well-run machine. Even with 10 men, they were hard to break down and even had chances to score. Haaland missed a really good chance. Foden, Walker and Gvardiol had the bonus points. Burnley versus Man U. This was a game that was interesting. Man U finally kept a clean sheet. It wasn't easy. Burnley could have scored, but they didn't, and that's what matters. Bruno Fernandes scored a really good goal off a Johnny Evans assist. Johnny Evans was very impressive. Even at 35, he still is a good player. Onana had good saves. They still seemed a bit fragile, but this is the first game of the season where I feel like they deserve to win. I definitely think they robbed Wolves in the opening game, and Wolves were denied a clear penalty in my view as well. Man U were the better team. This game has seriously made me reconsider having Rashford in my team. There's just something off with him. He just doesn't seem to have the consistency that is required at this level. I really have to reconsider having him. Son will definitely be coming into my team after that Liverpool game next week. And Rashford will be making way. Burnley have a game coming up. I would have encouraged people to get Foster, but I am thinking he will still be suspended. And his absence was felt in this game. I really don't know who to recommend. Maybe Kolyosho, because that boy causes problems. But he won't score, but he will cause problems. Fernandes looked to have rediscovered his Portugal form. Evans had the 3 bonus points. Fernandes had 2. And Dalot had 1. Brighton versus Bournemouth. Brighton were beaten in Europe and they made changes to the squad. And it's so Mitoma start off the bench along with Ansu Fati. They went into the half at 1-1. Mitoma was brought on with Ansu Fati. Ansu Fati stole the ball Mitoma scored within 16 seconds of the kickoff, and then he scored again. Mitoma is a problem. I am so happy I had faith in him and kept him in my squad. Brighton showed that they have a problem of squad selection. De Zerbi doesn't know how to balance his squad to challenge on both fronts, and that will cause many problems. So always be wary of European games for all of these teams before the weekend or before their games during Europe. Mitoma scored 2 goals for Brighton, and there was an own goal by Carques, and the assist was given to Billy Gilmore. Estupinian and Dahoud had the assists for the other Brighton goals. Solanke scored for Bournemouth, and Christie was the assist provider. Bournemouth could have scored many more goals in the first half, but they were profligate in front of goal, and they got punished in the second half. It was a game of 2 halves, and Brighton would be feeling happy that they were not punished in the first half. Bournemouth would be feeling bad that they did not take advantage of the opportunities they had to score in the first half. Mitoma got the bonus points, 3. Gilmore had 2 and Estupinian had 1. Verbruggen was a disaster. Verbruggen being the Brighton keeper. He was a disaster. A complete disaster. I'll be very shocked if he starts the next game. He needs to just be subbed, and he needs to just think about what he was doing, because he was not there. He was not present. Saving our best for last, or rather just the last for last. Liverpool versus West Ham, 3-1. Just like I said last week, Liverpool are very solid right now. They won in Europe, coming from behind. They beat West Ham. West Ham had chances to score. Ward-Prowse created enough chances for them to at least score 1 or 2 more goals. Bowen should have had a double. But Liverpool are resilient right now. They're having a really strong season. They've started really well, and they look like favourites to challenge Man City. I don't know if it's just me, but it doesn't seem that Salah has as many opportunities to score as he usually does. I do not know if I'm imagining this or if any of you think the same way. Having said that, he was fouled for the penalty which he scored. Diogo Jota and Darwin scored the other goals. McAllister had the assist for Nunez. Nunez is such a confusing player. He misses easy chances and scores such difficult ones. Makes you wonder, what does this guy want? It's like he just wants to shine with difficulty instead of it's too easy. I'm not going to score that. Jota, on the other hand, takes whatever you give him. He scored a very simple, easy goal that West Ham gave him. Bowen scored a really good diving header. I didn't know he had that in him. It was a good goal. They should have scored at least 1 more, but that's just how the game goes. Liverpool continued to concede, and I'm happy because I don't have Alisson anymore. Having a Liverpool defender right now must be tricky, because if you don't have Trent, why do you have a Liverpool defender? I guess Robertson also does a good job. Let me not hate on him. He does a good job. But when he doesn't, it's like 6.5, 6.6, and 1 point. Salah seems to be as solid as he has been in the recent past. I just wish he was a little bit cheaper. Let me tell you some random stats from this weekend. Chelsea have failed to score in 13 Premier League matches in 2023. That's more than any other side. It's the most times they've failed to do so in a single year since 1995. Saka has been involved in 5 goals in 4 Premier League home games this term, with 3 goals and 2 assists. Declan Rice got injured, Maddison got injured, and Moreno from Aston Villa got injured. It's not clear if they will be available for the next game week, but watch them closely. If you're considering bringing in Gordon from Newcastle, watch out. He's 1 match away from a yellow card ban, from getting a 5th yellow card, which will get him a ban, like Nicholas Jackson. Chilwell is already the most transferred out player ahead of Gameweek 7, with over 380,000 people giving up on him. The highest points of the week had 132 points. He had Watkins up front with 9 points, Mitoma, captain, 28 points, Son 14, Foden 11, Saka 13, Maddison 9, Walker 11, Trippier 18, Estupinian 6, Cash, 6. Onana, 7. Well done to him. The average points of the game week was 68. So if you got around that much, well done. Looking at our league, our highest point getter was Vic Nyadi with Vic City, 91 points. Those 91 points really helped him gain. He is now number 2 with 401 points. Why Are You Running is just 2 points ahead at 403. Number 2 in our group was Goodness Gracious Me by Sim Nanijua. He got 90 points. And by number 2, I mean number 2 in points gotten over the week. Looking at Vic City, it seemed like the real differentials was having Salah, Walker and Botman. They really pulled through for him. When I look at Goodness Gracious Me, he had very interesting points from players. Jensen gave him 9, Salah gave him 10, Watkins gave him 9, Leonard gave him 10, I think I've said it already, Anderson 6 and Botman 12. It's quite an unusual lineup, but it worked. So our number 1 to 5. Why Are You Running? Managed by Leon Mortier, 403. Number 2, Vic City, managed by Vic Nyadi, 401. Number 3, Cheese Garnachos by Control Alt Delete at 392 with number 3. Number 4 is 043 Boys, Mike Wow, with 75 points, which is coincidentally the amount of points he got last week. We didn't manage to get an interview. It just didn't work out. Paulisana. He has 386 points. And at number 5, we have Bona G, Mr. 100, who got 62. He has 385 points. So, as you can hear, there are about 18 points between number 5 and number 1. Looking towards the bottom of the table, anchoring at number 21 is Team Kubwa by Moses Chege. He got 44 points, 257. Number 20 is Washira Gitahi. Enter the WU. He's improving. He got 78, 262. Number 19 is the Ganagaderu. He sleeps through storms with 58, 307. Number 18 is P. Dennis 11 by Peter Dennis with 326. And number 17 is Al Shabab by Jeremiah Oberi. He has 76 and 332 points. Now, number 20 and number 21 are having a relegation battle. And he sleeps through storms is about 45 points ahead of them. And now to catch up to number 4 from the bottom, he needs to get at least 20 points. And then between bottom 4 and bottom 5 is just 6 points. So that's okay. And going up from number 17 to number 14 is just under 10 points. So there's competition in the lower half of the table and at the top and at the very bottom. Looking at Game Week 7, we will start off with an early kickoff. Remember, Game Week 7 is a double game week. Burnley, Luton have 2 games. Also, there's cup games happening this week. So if you can delay before you make your team just to find out if your people made it through unscathed. Having said that, I already got rid of Nicholas Jackson and Malo Gusto. I couldn't wait. I was so done with them. Don't be like me. Be better. It seems the bulk of the games will be played on Saturday. And random tip, when you see all the big teams playing on Saturday, it probably means the next week is Champions League. There will be 8 games on Saturday. The early kickoff game will be Aston Villa versus Brighton. Both teams have Europe coming, and this means they may play unpredictable lineups. Emery has an advantage in Europe. He's Mr. Europe. I believe he will be wiser than De Zerbi. If both teams were to play the strongest squads, I believe Brighton would win. But given the balance of Europe, I believe this may swing in the favour of Aston Villa. Bournemouth play Arsenal at home, and that's going to be a tricky game. It'll be open and attacking. Arsenal are doing well, but they've also lost so many players now. With all these injuries and Europe, it will be interesting to see what Arteta does in terms of a squad to challenge on both fronts. Bournemouth might just be lucky enough to get something out of this game. But Arsenal will be definite favourites. Everton play Luton. Even though I have brought in a Luton asset, I believe Everton are the better team. Doucouré will probably do his magic. Now that DCL is amongst the goals, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who knows? They may just pick up where they left off in the last game. Man United versus Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace seem to be just short on attacking players right now, and this will put them at a disadvantage. They have been struggling to create. I believe Manchester United will also be looking towards Europe, but I also believe that they will have enough to beat them. Man United do not defend well, but Crystal Palace aren't attacking well either. It wouldn't surprise me if this is a low-scoring game. But who knows? This is a last-chance saloon for me and Rashford. If he underperforms or just doesn't do anything, he's out. Man U fans would be confident to get a clean sheet, and that wouldn't be a stretch, considering the lack of attacking prowess from Crystal Palace. We'll see what happens. Part of me wants Anderson to play and to score. And Rashford as well. Moving on to Newcastle versus Burnley. 8-0? Too soon? I'm not sure. I'm going to bank on Newcastle to win this game. Burnley, a different opposition, different proposition. They attack better than Sheffield, but I don't think they defend any better. I believe Newcastle will win. Maybe not 8, but I believe they will win. But they also play in Europe, so it may be one of those rotations. Let's see how they rotate. I hope it's not going to be enough to weaken them. West Ham are playing Sheffield. West Ham have Europe, so they may rotate their squad as well. I do believe they have enough to beat Sheffield. But Sheffield may be harder to beat. Or a complete walkover. It really depends on the mental fortitude of these players and how the manager prepares them to see whether they will be able to overcome such a devastating loss. It definitely will not be 8-0, but West Ham have the psychological advantage. So in my view, it is more likely that West Ham will beat Sheffield than the other way around. Wolves play Man City. Wolves are a team that play one half really well. It really depends on what they do in that half. If they have a perfect half, they can even score 4 goals. But the odds are that they will crumble in the other half. I expect Man City to win. I think Wolves will score. Man City have a deep squad, so it doesn't really matter. You just know Haaland will play. But he'll probably be taken off. I really hope Wolves don't fire Gary O'Neill. I think he's doing a good job, but he just has unlucky games right now. And I do not know how they can beat Man City. I mean, Man City have had a perfect start so far. And it is more likely to continue than it isn't. Spurs versus Liverpool. Open game. Both teams favor attacking football. Both teams to score. That's as far as I can go. 2-2 wouldn't surprise me. But given Liverpool's form, I would lean towards Liverpool. Out of the last 4 games they have played, Liverpool have won 2 and drawn 2. They haven't lost in 4 games to the Spurs. Actually, they haven't lost to them in 12 games, dating back to 2017. Wow, I had no idea before I looked that up. So, the odds are Liverpool will win. Salah, Shota, Nunez, Son, Maddison, if he plays, will all be influential in the outcome of this game. Those would be the assets I'd be looking at if I wanted assets from this game. Nottingham Forest versus Brentford. Awoniyi back amongst either goals or assists. I expect an improved performance from Brentford. That is all. They will play better. They will do better. This game will not be 0-0. Chelsea are playing Fulham. Fulham can't score. Chelsea can't score. 0-0? Who knows? I'm really hoping for Sterling to deliver. I'm sure those who have Fulham players will be hoping for the same. Given the injuries Chelsea have, it will be interesting to see who will play, given the suspensions to Malo Gusto and Jackson. Fulham have the slight edge because they seem to be just a better team right now, but I low-key have faith in Chelsea. But that's just me being a fanboy. And then, after that, we have on Tuesday, the last game of the game week. Luton versus Burnley. I believe Foster should be back for this game for Burnley. I am betting on Luton to score. Morris seems to be the one to score their goals, so I have him. If you want another player from there, get Kabore. As for Burnley, I would say Amduni or Foster. I don't have any strong opinions on their players. I got 74 points. I won't lie, I didn't see that coming. My best performers were Trippier, who had 18, 3 assists. That was amazing. I was so overjoyed. Saka had 13 points. Mitoma had 14. And my captain, Haaland, had 12. Those were my best performing players. Of course, Trippier was the best performing player with 18. Gusto had -2. Nicholas Jackson had 1. Both players are suspended for the next game. I had 2 free transfers. I used those to bring in Morris and Matty Cash from Aston Villa. I probably should have brought in Kabore now that I think about it. But I was thinking more long term, and I believe Matty Cash will come good. On my bench, I had Anderson, who had 6 points. Apart from that, the rest of the bench underperformed, and I was very happy to have kept them seated there. Udoji had 0, Mbomo had 1, and Areola had 2. So I was really glad about that. I strongly believe that Wolves will score against Manchester City, so I'm thinking of bringing on Areola to play against Sheffield, because somehow I believe Areola will play and get more points. Those are just small decisions I will have to make, but I think I will leave them for later. I also want to bring Mbomo back into the starting lineup, but I don't know how I'm going to do that. So I will have to look at my team and make a decision closer to the day. I hope your season is going well. Have a great week, everyone, and take it one week at a time.